Look, I'm going to shoot you straight. If you keep asking these questions, you will stay on the cold calling hamster wheel forever. You'll never generate leads, you'll never set appointments, and then you'll be one of those people who say, "Oh, I tried cold calling and it doesn't work." Well, it doesn't work because you're asking the wrong questions. So let's fix it. I'll show you the right questions to ask that when you do, cold calling becomes simple, becomes easy. Leads and appointments come in abundance. So let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. We're talking about yes oriented questions. These are questions that you're getting every single day. They're questions like when you walk into a Walgreens, for an example, and the cash register says, "Hey, can I help you find anything?" And what do you respond with every single time? "Oh, that's right. No, I'm just looking." Right. Like you were that bored that you left the couch, drove through traffic to walk into Walgreens randomly because you wanted to look around. No, I don't think so. What we're talking about here is reflex resistance. It's our reflex to respond to yes oriented questions with a no. This is also called psychological reactance. Here's what's going on. When you ask yes oriented questions, which I will give you some examples of the type of questions that is most asked on most of these awful scripts that I see, and you'll see exactly why your cold calls go nowhere. So when you ask questions that attempt to elicit somebody to say yes, you get the opposite. You elicit what we call psychological reactance, number one, and number two, perceived bias. And so this happens when somebody feels as though their freedom to choose for themselves is at risk, it's at threat. And so when you put a prospect into the corner and you ask them this yes oriented question designed to get yes, what do you get more often? You get more no's. And the reason why you get more no's is because of something called perceived bias. It's when you call somebody as an example and you use the whole, "Are you interested in selling your house?" Are you kidding me? Even if the prospect was thinking about selling their house. Let's think about this for a second. Okay, so you pick up the phone, you call somebody random out of the blue, and you ask them about a huge life decision like, "Are you thinking about selling your house?" Even if they were, most of the time they're like, "No," because they know you're a realtor. If they say yes to that question, what's going to happen? Oh, that's right. You're going to jump all over it like a little boy on prom night, aren't you? So it has too much perceived risk for the prospect to do what? Tell you the truth, which is one of the main goals of making an outbound cold call is to get to the truth. Does this person have any real motivation to do something such that I can help them? So if you go on, I don't care what coach or what sales trainer that you follow, if you download all of their scripts and you look at them, they are filled with bad questions. Questions like, "Are you interested in?" I'm not kidding. If you go to most of these scripts, one of the first questions is, "Are you still interested in selling your home? Are you interested in moving? Are you still open to offers?" They're all questions to get, again, to yes. And as a result, if you've ever made a phone call and you've ever made a cold call asking a question like this, you know these questions don't work. Questions like, "Would you be open to?" Designed to get to yes, often met with a no. "Would you consider?" It's still designed to get to yes. So I'm going to give you in just a second a list of questions to do the exact opposite. In fact, there's a link in the description. You can grab my 10 best scripts that make cold calling really, really simple. Easy to get leads, easy to set amazing, high quality listing appointments with the best sellers that your competitors simply cannot get because they continue to use bad language. So, yes oriented questions. Let me show you this. It's really, really, really powerful. All right. So, this little graph on screen right now can make you a lot of money. So, on the left, we have resistance. Below, we have time. The red stands for yes-oriented questions, and the black stands for resistance. When you make a cold call, resistance of that prospect is at its all-time highest. As soon as they pick up the phone, hello, and they find out that they are on the phone with somebody that they did not expect, resistance is at its all-time highest, which means from a psychological perspective, they are in reflex mode. They aren't thinking logically. It's just, how do I get out of this as fast as I possibly can? Some people are more polite than others, but nonetheless, it's how can I get out of this? Now that I know I am in a situation that I did not ask for, because that's what cold calling is, it's interrupting people. They are in this reflex response, which means you cannot ask yes-oriented questions in the beginning of a cold call. So when we look at your yes-oriented questions, which I just gave you examples of, this has to be very, 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 very low in the beginning. This is what we call the gap. This is where literally 90% of cold calls are lost because of this gap right here. It's because when you have the prospect in their highest point of reflex resistance, if you use yes-oriented questions, the phone call will go nowhere. I've made tens of thousands of calls. I've listened to thousands of calls. I've coached 6,000 agents through this. This is where 90% of the calls are being missed. As the call goes on, and as you build more rapport and you build more trust, and most importantly, you get the prospect to feel more comfortable with you, then you can increase your yes questions. So let me show you what to do instead. So you have two options here. Number one is to use no-oriented questions, which we're going to break down in just a second. Or number two, you can use reverse presumptive questions. Either will be fine. Like I mentioned, if you want all of my scripts and all of my best questions, just click the link below this video. It's right in the description. You can grab all of my best scripts to set appointments. All right. Now let's break down what your options are when we look at no-oriented questions. So first and foremost, would you be against? See, what happens is the prospect, remember, is in reflex mode. So when you flip the question from yes orientation to no orientation, the brain cannot process it fast enough. It's still in reflex mode. But what ends up happening when you flip the question to a no question, you end up getting the truth. Why? Because remember back to the example I gave you at the beginning of this video where we walk in the department store and the person says, "Hey, can I help you find anything?" Out of reflex, out of habit, you say, "No, I'm just looking." Remember that whole thing? Well, what if that clerk reversed it and said, "Hey, welcome to Walgreens. I'm assuming you're here just to look, so I won't even ask." And then what would happen? Actually, can you, what aisle is the shampoo in? It flips it. Why? Because the brain can't process it that quick. So you guys aren't clerks. You are real estate salespeople. So let me give you some more examples. So would you be against whatever it is? Let's just pretend. Let me give you some really good examples. You're going to get all these in my script book, by the way. So let's just pretend you're calling with this question an expired listing. Instead of calling the expired listings and saying something like, "Hey, are you still interested in selling your home?" What do they say? "Yeah, no, kick rocks, but hang up the phone, you're done." What if you said, "Listen, you use some type of permission-based opener, and your one question is, well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, or Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, I know I'm calling out of the blue. I understand that. I guess I'm curious. If you were presented with the offer that you were looking for, would you be against looking at that altogether? In other words, would it be a waste of time?" This is designed to get to, well, no, not necessarily, which is exactly where we want the conversation to get to. It's so fast. Once we offer up something of value and take it away by giving a no question, the person says, well, no, that's exactly what I was hoping for. Okay. Another example. Have you given up on? This is a great question right out of Chris Voss's Never Split the Difference. It's a great book. So again, you're calling an expired listing. You say, well, listen, Mrs. Prospect, maybe it's the first question you ask. Out of curiosity, and you got to do this with the nurturing tonality. We're not talking about tone and delivery and pace and volume. We're not talking about any of that in this video. We're literally talking about scripts. Have you given up on the idea of selling? Have you given up on the idea that there is still a buyer out there willing to purchase your home for a price that works for you or more? That's a good question. Out of reflex, it's hard for them to say, yep, we've given up. No one likes to give up on anything. Here's another example. Is it too late? Mrs. Prospect, if there was a way for you to still sell your home and you can get down to Florida, be closer to your family, is it too late? Well, I mean, that's going to be tough for them to say, yes, it's too late. Here's another one. Would you be upset if? Would you be upset? And so you can use this in multiple different ways. Mr. Prospect, listen, I can't make any promises, but maybe you're talking to a for sale by owner. Mr. For sale by owner, if I was to find a buyer who is willing to purchase the home and all the numbers made sense, would you be upset if I told them about it? No, I wouldn't be upset. That would be great. Good. This is exactly what we want. Would you hate it if? Mrs. Prospect, would you hate the idea if I were to follow up with you and call it 30 days? No, that'd be fine. That'd be fine. Okay, got it. What's another one? Would you be offended if? Bob, let me ask you a question. If I were to, would you be offended if maybe I called you back in a couple of weeks and in the event you were unable to sell the home on your own, would you be totally opposed to the idea of revisiting perhaps a second opinion or a backup plan? Again, no orientation early in the conversation. And then another example, and you'll get a lot more of these in my script book. Would it be ridiculous if? John, let's pretend for a second you decided that meeting made sense. Would it be ridiculous if we spent maybe 20 to 30 minutes reviewing a plan that you genuinely believed would get your property sold, knowing that you're not going to do anything unless it made sense anyways? Am I right? It's very difficult while the prospect is in this state of reflex response to say yes to these questions. We are going for no on purpose. All right, now for my super advanced salespeople, and again, this is for people that are more advanced, all right? This is a technique for those people. If you're not, this is not going to make sense. I can just hear people right now, I don't get it. This doesn't make any, I understand. There's so much to this technique, but if that's you, if you really want to get good at selling over the phone, you will use this technique. All right. This is what I work on with a lot of my private coaching clients. That is the reverse presumptive questioning technique. It's probably the most powerful language to use in a cold outbound prospecting conversation. And so I'll give you 2 or 3 examples. You're talking to a prospect and you know all the objections that they normally give you. So let's just, if you're circle prospecting and you're still using scripts that have yes orientation and you say things like, hey, are you interested in selling? You know that the number one objection you keep getting is no, I'm not interested. No, I'm not interested. No, I'm not interested. Okay. Wouldn't it then make more sense to invert that and serve up the objection to the prospect before the prospect gives it to you? It's the prospect's objection. Let them deal with it. Now, I know the amateur sales trainers out there, they make videos about my videos all the time. They just don't get it. Let's just keep this secret between you and I. Let them keep training the crap and you can get the good stuff. Okay. You're going to serve this up to the prospect proactively. You're going to say something like, Mr. Prospect, I get the feeling if I brought up the idea of moving, you'd probably laugh me off the phone and tell me you're in your forever home, right? And see, this is designed to get somebody in reflex response and go for no on purpose because I'm using language that is very matter of fact on purpose. I say things like, you're probably going to laugh me off the phone and tell me you're in your forever home, right? All I'm trying to do while they're in reflex resistance mode, I'm calling this person out of the blue, is get them to say, no, not forever. I mean, we're not going to be here forever. That's all I need to have happen right now. That's all I need to have happen. Once I've gotten past this, then I can move on to the next set of questioning strategies. I'll make another video about where you go from there. This is all I need. Every question is selling the next 30 seconds of a cold call. Every question you ask must be of high quality, that is well thought out, just like a chess game. And every question must be strategic and asked in the right time for the right reason. Let me give you another example. This question is designed to talk about or elicit timing. So guess what a bad question is? When are you thinking about moving? Well, what answer do you get every time you ask that? Oh, that's right. We're not, come on, say it with me. We're not in a big rush. Isn't that what you get all the time? Certainly I can, some of the time I hear people, making comments. Yeah, Brandon, I ask it and I can get it just fine. Yeah. Sometimes somebody, you get an amiable personality and they give you, oh yeah, we're thinking about moving next month. I'm so glad you called. Most of the time they tell you we're not in a big rush. Why? Because they're defensive. You're the enemy. You're calling me. You're a salesperson. I don't want to talk to you. So we have to serve up this is not the truth. The whole goal of the conversation is get to the truth. So we say, well, Mr. Prospect, out of curiosity, if you're still in the home this time next year, I don't know, I could be wrong, but I kind of get the feeling that that's probably not a big deal. I mean, you're not in a big rush to move, right? It's designed to get to the truth, which we're looking for. Well, no, I mean, I wish we could stay here forever, but in fact, we actually have to move this fall because of X, Y, or Z. See, this is your way of eliciting self-persuasion. It's getting the prospect to do the selling. And the person who's watching this might say, well, Brandon, go back to the first question. If I say, I get the feeling if I brought up the idea of moving, you'd probably tell me, no way, I'm in my forever home. I love it here. I'm never moving no matter what. Am I right? If they say you're right, isn't that hurt me? No. The goal is to get to the truth. Let me ask you a question. If a prospect was never, I'm talking about never, no matter what, going to do business with you, when would you want to know? And every agent I've asked that question to gives me the same answer right now. Well, if that's true, then why are we accepting lies? Well, that's because we're asking bad questions. Prospects don't owe us anything. So when you ask a bad question, you see, the best way to get rid of a salesperson, you know it, I know it, we both do it, is to tell them you're interested when you're not. And so prospects mislead. They misguide you. They tell you interested when they're not. They don't tell you they're interested when they really are. And so if you are continuing to ask questions like, hey, are you interested in selling? They might be putting a sign in their front yard next week and still tell you, no, I'm not interested. But when I use language like, I get the feeling you're going to tell me you've got the perfect home and you're there forever, no matter what, they're never moving ever. It forces the person to argue against you and tell you why you are wrong. See, either way, you're getting a reflex response But this way plays to your favor. So we talked about the second example around timing. Now, let's talk about the third time that you would want to use this technique. And this is to find out whether or not you actually have an opportunity to be their agent to help them. So rather than ask a yes-oriented question like, well, Mr. Prospect, can I come over? I love this one, right? Like the sly fox. It's like, well, hey, I'm going to be in your area on Thursday. I could pop by and show you what I could do to get your home sold. Does 3 or 5 work better? It's like, are you kidding me? You are not still using that. Come on. It's just amazing to me that people are still using this language in 2025. It's ridiculous. Like the prospect doesn't know it's like, yeah, no, that ain't going to work. So we have to use the reverse presumptive language to gently push the prospect away. Okay. We push them away and then they pull us back. Okay. So I've made tons of videos on the channel about push pull technique. When you try to pull a prospect towards you, what do? That's right. They pull away from you. This is just Newton's law. And so you have science to back you up here. So you might say, and Mr. Prospect, when you do move, I'm assuming like most people, and again, I could be wrong, you've probably already interviewed some great agents and you've hired someone who's going to help you when the time comes. Is that fair? Again, it's reverse presumptive on purpose. It's using very, very specific words like you've already interviewed somebody, knowing they haven't on purpose, and presuming they've hired somebody when we know they haven't, so they can correct us on purpose. Do you get this? Do you understand the power of this? I'm not expecting you to actually watch this YouTube video for 15 minutes and say, yep, I get it. I mean, this takes my students a long time to get that. When they do, their conversion is insane. When they do, they can convert 10% of every single person they talk to into a high quality lead. And that high quality lead turns into a high quality listing appointment that they're able to set that no other agents are able to set because of the language they're learning to master. And so the question that you have to ask yourself is, okay, I'm making outbound prospecting calls. I'm putting in the work. I'm putting in the reps. If you're not converting 5, 10, 12, 14% of every conversation into a high quality opportunity, you have to at some point say, okay, maybe I should try something else. So without judgment, download my script book. There's a link in the description. And don't just try it. Practice it. Commit to it. Write out your scripts. Record your role play sessions. Record your prospecting sessions. And then track your conversion on every question you ask. And then compare what you're doing now to what I'm asking you to do and see which one converts higher. And if you want to see this in action, here's a student of mine right here who has mastered what I just taught you in this video, who's making a ton of money cold calling.